Should we talk about them real quick?
Real quick. That's the funniest line of the show.
Hold on. I'm training.
What did you rip? What was that even?
I'm getting my fucking Terran muscles ready. Oh, NXT this week. I got to be honest with you. This show is never embarrassing. It's never really insulting, but it's only occasionally exciting. It's we'll get to it.
It's dull. It's a dull show.
It's dull. There's moments, but at least it's not something to be laughed at instead of even laughed with, and something. It's not embarrassing, but it's just it needs some oomph. The package at the start, I'm still astonished that axe murders go unobstructed in this company. People could be fucking sodomized in the middle of the ring for hours on end and nobody bats an eye. But Adam Cole and the football player get out and get in a goddamn argument and send out the SWAT team, right? The big pull apart, including Triple H and Shawn Michaels. They opened the program this week, thankfully, with a little bit more star power than usual. I like the Karrion Kross and Scarlett entrance. As far it's cinematic, but it's cool. It makes them look like stars. It makes Scarlett is the star of the entrance. Unfortunately, maybe for Karrion Kross, this might be a Sable Marrow thing in the end. But it doesn't make the business look goofy for somebody to have a cinematic entrance. They're not cooperating with their opponent, and it certainly doesn't make them look silly or stupid here. So are you just against the Andrew Lloyd Webber entrance, or only when it interrupts matches?
I just think it's kind of ridiculous.
You're no fun anymore.
It is just so like Broadway.
But, but there's the thing. It is show business in some respects, and should be treated as that in some respects, just not in every respect and not in the wrong respects. But I don't have a problem with an entrance that is scheduled to happen, for a match that's scheduled to happen, to be cinematic and opulent and lit and the music and the whole 9 yards, because they're making a big deal of themselves. They're not cooperating with the opponents. They're not doing this while they're supposed to be doing a run-in to save somebody. It's not out of place. I think just like boxers, UFC fighters, everybody else has had dramatic entrances. I give them kudos. No one has had that.
No one has had it where it's like a routine, where the lip sync. And where in the UFC or boxing?
Well, but now hold on. Okay, with her lip sync, is that her on the recording?
I don't know.
It better be.
Does she sing? Is she a singer?
Well, goddamn, I don't know. The person singing it is not really a very good singer. If it's her, she could get away with lip syncing it. I was under the assumption that it was her actually on this music. If she's lip syncing somebody else, then no, then she should have a proper spanking.
And then that's a nice thought. But then at the end, when they just like kind of hold their pose in the ring with all the smoke going around, they're staring off at nothing. I don't know. I don't like. Here's something you don't hear often. Jim Cornette, you're way too tolerant of modern wrestling.
Well, and you're just too old and stuck in your ways, Brian. You're behind the times. The business has passed you by. We get Andrew Lloyd Webber entrances now.
Come back to 1985 with me, Jim.
All right. Well, I'm about to, because then the bell rang. And we had two bald guys in black trunks. Thank God Danny Birch had white boots on, or you wouldn't have hardly known the difference. I've made note they're certainly not hot-shotting the first match to win the ratings war, because have we seen Danny Birch in competition before as we've been watching NXT? And we've watched quite a few of them by this point.
I feel like we've seen him at some point, but I don't even remember when. And at first I got confused. There was a lot of bald guys, seemingly.
Yes,
in NXT.
everybody.
So I was thinking, is this the guy from Imperium? I really wasn't sure who he was at first.
Oney Lorcan don't have a goddamn hair on his fucking head either. Dude, we need to get a sponsor to help with hair growth.
Actually, I think we may be onto something there.
Well, then we need to give a special code to the fucking pro wrestlers these days. Used to, the guys lost their hair because of steroids. Now they lose it because they just shave it off on purpose. Anyway. They're not hot-shotting because Danny Birch, nobody knows who the fuck he is. They know Karrion Kross is pushed. So therefore, this looks to the average viewer to the layman at home like a match designed to showcase Karrion Kross and get him over. I found it to be too competitive for a match to get Karrion Kross over and too bleh to be a competitive match. Birch, to me, looked like a baked potato. They did a lot of he gave Danny Birch a great match, but I don't know if it was the spot to give Danny Birch a great match. If they wanted to have Karrion Kross in a really competitive match, they should have booked one of their other 89 people they have under contract, or he should have won with his sleeper quicker than he did and with less trouble to look like a fucking beast going into the goddamn big blow off, whatever the stipulations are for their title. Let's see, they have 5 weeks of 3-ways, and the winners of the 3-ways go into the ladder match, 5-way for the title, except that now, because the guy hurt himself doing his own flip, they're having the people who were never pinned or submitted have a special 3-way match to fill the fucking vacant spot in the 5-way. So you can see we need to keep the integrity here of this chain of command. Anyway, the match was there. Before we get to Keith Lee, any comments on your part on the match?
It was just a match. You know, it was nice to see Karrion Kross have a match. I think beyond my personal distaste for the entrance and some goofy facials, he has a ton of potential, that guy.
Yeah, he's a puppy with big paws, but it was a Wednesday, a day like any other day. They left the Performance Center for the show in decay. Then Keith Lee comes out. Do you think he's listening to the program, Brian? Remember last week when Keith Lee got mad, and now Keith Lee came out and gave a good pissed off promo. This, to me, sounded like, get your bitch ass in here or sign your bitch ass to this contract. That sounded to me like Keith Lee's promo groove. Did you want to pay more attention to him when you thought he was actually pissed?
Absolutely.
And that promo could have, his promo part challenging Karrion Kross to sign a contract could have been on Mid-South Wrestling Television 30 years ago, and everybody was like, that was a good promo. All the guys in the back would have been, that was a good promo, because it was a good promo. He didn't beat around the bush and be fucking verbose about it. However, I see what they were going for here, and what happened next was he has the contract in the folder, and he has Karrion Kross sign it, and Scarlett, if you want, go back and watch. By the way, everybody should keep these shows on their DVR until we talk about them, because I'm going to tell you a lot of things to look for. When Karrion Kross signs the contract, hands the fucking thing back to Scarlett, she folds it up, and the pen is in the pad, the notepad, when it's folded up, because you can see it's not flat. They switch immediately to a shot from inside the ring where she's handing the thing back to Keith Lee, and the thing's flatter than 4 o'clock. So they switched it. But when she slides the thing back in, the notepad, the notebook, suddenly everything stopped. Did you notice this? Everything stopped, and there was a lot of dramatic looks amongst them.
Silence. Nobody making any noise. Dramatic looks. Here's where they fucked up. If she had slid the thing that he just handed out back to him, and he had picked it up like I got what I wanted with a big smile on his face, and thought nothing of opening it up to fucking sign it himself, then this deal would have gotten over. But instead, when he did finally, she shoves it back in. There's a shot of it on the fucking ground. They're looking at each other. They're silent forever. There's tension. It created in people's minds a tension on the notepad. Did it not? In your head, you thought, wait, there's something going on with the notepad. I thought something was going on, yeah.
Because there was so much of nothing going on around it but tension. There shouldn't have been tension there. It gave away the deal. It was an angle alert. Keith Lee opens the folder, and a fireball emerges with an added sound effect, by the way. They don't make that noise. There was an added sound effect to the fireball. And he immediately sells his fucking face and takes a bump. as I mentioned, without the long, drawn-out milk that inadvertently, whether they meant to or not, gave people time to pay attention to or somehow drew their attention to the folder. If it had come from nowhere, but they got the camera shot, it would have been a big pop and a big surprise and holy shit. But as it was, I was expecting something to go on with the fucking book because of the way they presented it. And so at any rate, that they gave their angle alert, but it doesn't matter with what happened next, because here next, they not only stayed on Keith Lee's injury, in quotation marks, too long, they stayed on it ridiculously long. And the bad acting by the referees and the fake medical personnel, too long. He wasn't burned. You could see that. They were talking about his eyes. Well, if a fireball erupts in your fucking face and it doesn't burn your skin, how's it going to blind you? They're putting the towel over his face and they're mashing it onto the burn or where the burn would have been, which is not what you do. I will explain, and everybody can go back and watch the territory days when people got burned with the fireball, the Sheik, me with Ronnie Garvin, whatever. Here's why the towel is done. The towel is done because, boom, once that fireball comes out of nowhere and sets a guy's face on fire, he fucking sets his chest, whatever the fuck you burn, the guy goes down and he's screaming in pain and he's rolling around and he's covering it up, and immediately everybody gets there and they're in a mass panic. Oh my gosh, and you cover the guy's fucking face up with a towel. That's not what you would do medically. That's what you would do to show everybody when you're getting him from the ring to the fucking locker room. You don't want people to see he's not fucking burned. So you do it quick and you run the fuck out of there before they have time to think, well, that's not what you would fucking do, because they didn't know anybody was going to get burned until 30 seconds ago. Then the chaos is around him, not him himself. You don't even see him. The angle where we burned Garvin, once they put the towel on and they hustled him to the back, then you saw Jimmy Garvin bust into the fucking heel locker room and attack me. Then you saw him goddamn run back in the car, and Garvin is already in the back seat, or you see him from a long shot. You don't see what the fuck's going on in the car tearing out and everybody else talking about it. The chaos is around the guy, not the guy. You don't see him because that way your imagination thinks, my God, he's been burned to death. If you see him walking around like Keith Lee was with people saying things they wouldn't say and doing things they wouldn't do if this was a shoot, you're not putting more attention on it. You're taking impact away from it. Make all the goddamn chaos without ever even seeing the guy. If they'd have gone back in the back with the camera and you'd have seen the fucking door slam behind Keith Lee and a bunch of people run into the room, concerned, somebody run out. Can we get something? Whatever the fucking burn medicine is. Can we get some goddamn Vaseline? Somebody bringing something in a goddamn jug. Here's the disinfectant. Somebody coming out with the phone. That's right. The address of the arena is such and such. Send the ambulance. And everybody's running around like fucking crazy. And we'll come back and check on this later, folks. Obviously, Keith Lee is in danger. You don't have to see the fucking guy. He walked a half a fucking mile after having his face set on fire while they were tending to him. I'd have blown up from walking that far if I hadn't been set on fire first. And they stayed with it in picture through the next match entrance, and it looked phonier by the second. Now that I've said this, does that ring any bells with you?
Yeah, I mean, what you're saying makes sense. I'm all for a good fireball angle. I don't know about the elusive cosmic fireball that popped out of the contract there. I wasn't a fan of that.
You know, actually, Truth Martini was trying to get a book, because he had the Book of Truth in Ring of Honor. He was trying to get a book that fucking threw a fireball. And that's the last time I'd thought of something like that. But as soon as it happened, I was, oh, it's Truth's spot. Yeah, I mean, once again, even if you're going to do something that's unbelievable, if that's Karrion Kross and Scarlett the Witch, right? She can do these things. If she can do these supernatural things, at least make it look real afterwards, though. Or it could have been that you could have just fucking let fucking Keith Lee bend over and fucking take the contract from her and let her throw a fireball in his face. I don't fucking know. But all I know is the next match, Drake Maverick versus Killian Dane, got no love whatsoever. They started the match and immediately went to break. They came back and Keith Lee was being taken off in the ambulance finally, as Undisputed Era pulled up in a cheap rental from fucking Hertz. And we saw basically none of the match until the Undisputed Era hit and kicked shit out of both guys who got the microphone. And Adam Cole did a fucking wrestling promo. Looked at the camera, got mad, yelled, and swore to kick somebody's ass. For just a minute here, you could almost think that you were watching a wrestling program.